Hello everyone and welcome back to CryptoLiveLeak. We are here live from the Delta Summit 2019 in Malta. And we have the pleasure to speak with John deVadoss, head developer at NEO. How are you doing today, John?
Very good, very good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's our pleasure having you on. And so you have worked 18 years in a prior experience at Microsoft.
I did, yes.
And tell us a little bit about how that experience at Microsoft relates to what you're doing with NEO.
That's a great question. So I spent many years building, I led the architecture for the .NET platform at Microsoft.
Okay.
I also did the incubation of Azure, the cloud platform. So I'm a developer guy. I know about developers. I love working with developers. I know what it means to build a platform for millions of developers across the world. And for us at NEO, it's very simple. We aim to be the most developer-friendly platform for blockchain apps across the world. And the same movie we saw with the likes of Microsoft and Amazon is exactly how we play this one.
So there's a lot of different smart contract blockchains out there that are pitching this mass adoption. They want developers to come in. So what's your angle and what are the barriers of entry for developers to actually start building on NEO?
That's a fantastic question. The way I see it is, you're right, there are many blockchain platforms out there. However, there is this search for this mythical DApp, the elusive unicorn DApp, and the belief that somehow when you find it, everything will change. That's not how developers work. That's not how platforms work. The way you do it is you say, look, we cannot be this elite, special high priest of development. Let me ask you a question. How many developers do you think are there out there who build smart contracts today?
Well, I think we can go over the numbers, but there's something like 20 million developers right in the world, and probably less than 1% actually building smart contracts?
Yeah, 0.1% probably.
0.1%. Wow.
And we aim to change the world. And the way we do it is, look, every one of those 21 million developers out there, we have to make it very easy for them. We will go where they are. We're saying, look, there is no new language. If you like C# or Java or Python or even COBOL if you like it, we'll help you build smart contracts, right? Here's the deal. It has to be very simple, has to be productive, and has to be fun. And we know developers, and we're saying, look, we will talk to everybody out there. We will come to your house and your office, and in about 5 minutes, you can build your first smart contract. And that's a game changer. Because my belief is this, right? When we get those developers playing and building, then magic will happen, right? Then we will see a flowering. 1,000 flowers will bloom, right?
So maybe for any developer watching this right now that isn't building on smart contracts, what's the advantage to use blockchain-based smart contracts over traditional development methods?
Oh, it's a great question. Obviously, in terms of security, right, the underlying plumbing of blockchain platforms based on cryptographic fundamentals, it is very, very distinguishing characteristic. Being able to have a secure, a scalable, with the privacy built in, and the ability for the individual to retain control over their data and their asset. You cannot do it on a regular vanilla platform. Yes, you can host like a NEO on Azure or Amazon Web Services, but the cloud platforms themselves are just plumbing. It's just plumbing, right? And so we build this platform on top of the cloud and the plumbing to give you those capabilities like smart contracts, like ID, like NeoFS, right? And oracles. All these things you need to be able to address the challenges of this world where we are decentralizing.
Okay, and so you mentioned a variety of different languages that are already in existence, so you don't have to learn a new language to build on NEO. Now, how do those compile down? Is there a compiler to a core language that actually feeds into the NEO blockchain?
It's a beautiful question. So basically, we call ourselves the polyglot platform. We're saying, look, use whichever language you like. We then cross-compile it to our IL, which the NEO VM is able to then run. So we can go from anything out there. If you like some special language out there, we'll make it easy for you, right? There is no, unlike Ethereum, where you're saying, look, learn this new language, learn these new tools and frameworks. That is never going to work. We will always be elite. We'll have fun, but we won't change the world. For us, NEO, we want to commoditize. It's about mass adoption. And the way I know is, look, of those 21 million developers, if we can get 10%, that is 2 million. That is, compared 2 million to like a few thousand here, this is orders of magnitude. This is the big bet we are making.
And so, interesting you mentioned that the contracts can be secure. I noticed a lot of talk about formal verification for financially weighted smart contracts. Is that currently able to be facilitated on the NEO smart contract?
Absolutely. We partner with a large number of players out there who can do the formal verification. But you ask a very good question, though. I would say, I think part of the challenge we have here is we have made this complex. We have complexified smart contract development. So what happens when you complexify? You increase risk. So our bet is the other way. We're saying make it simple. Make it really simple, then you decrease risk. And in doing so, you have less possibility, less surface area. No, of course, there will always be verification and methods and tools, but by making it so simple, we can make it much less susceptible for these kinds of challenges to happen.
And I know you say there will be no one unicorn D app that will be built to save a platform or make it useful. But do you have any projects building on you currently that you may want to give a shout out to or describe?
We have a lot. I mean, we have the whole gamut from gaming. Gaming is very big for the NEO platform. You know, we have millions of gamers, you know, obviously on the platform. We have exchanges. I mean, like Nash up in Switzerland is a decentralized built on the NEO platform, right? We have the whole gamut. But at the core, though, our vision, you know, from Hong Fei at the very beginning has been, we want to be the platform to digitize assets, any and all assets. And for that reason, we are building NEO ID, because you need ID, NEO FS, the file system, the oracles, right, and so on. So we're building this ecosystem of capabilities to digitize any and all assets. Now, with that said, you can still build games, you can build exchanges, you can build anything you want, but we aim to be the premier pioneering platform to essentially drive mass adoption of asset digitization.
Okay, so now is there a token standard that you guys have for like a security asset as well as a non-fungible token standard?
Yes, we do. So for example, NEP5 is what you know ERC20 probably.
Right.
So NEP5 is like the ERC20 for us. It's been hugely popular, extremely significant adoption. We also have this distinction of NEO, the token, and then gas, the token. So we made it, we believe, certainly much simpler to comprehend. So for example, if you look at Ethereum, having one token and then having a derivative called gas, so you have the mental math, the mental model of, okay, what does it mean? One ether, and then how does gas play in? So we learned our lesson. We said, let's make it simple. Developers worry about gas. Consumers worry about the NEO token, right? Very clear separation. Developers should not have to worry about the currency and the market and so on. They think about gas as the fuel to drive the apps themselves.
So as a developer, would you recommend that they hold some NEO so they can stake it and then get the gas rewards and then use that to execute their smart contracts?
Definitely. I mean, that's certainly a very viable scenario. I would say we're seeing it happen a lot out in the market. Now, obviously, I'm no expert. I'm not a broker-dealer to be able to give guidance, but certainly I would say yes. Okay. In terms of holding NEO, you obviously inherently get gas, which you can use to power the apps you build.
Okay, excellent. And so you mentioned the NEP5 standard. I think there's a common misconception out there now that it's closed source or permissions. Is that an open source standard, and is the project itself open source?
Oh, absolutely. So NEO is about 5 years old right now. So back in 2014 is when we began NEO project. 2015, we were on GitHub on open source. So for about 4 years, we've been an open source community. We have about 500,000 people across the world contributing in some way or the other. NEP5 is a standard. Yep. We are very committed. I mean, this game is an open source game, right? It's a non-commercial open source play. And we are very clear. In fact, the core developers of NEO, they come from all over the world. We have developers in Brazil and obviously in China. We have folks in Switzerland, in the UK, in the US, and it's a very, very globalized community that, it's a lot of fun.
So excellent. So yeah, we're based out of Boston, Mass. ourselves, close to Harvard and MIT. We've actually held meetups in some of those universities. So tell us, is there any current efforts, hackathons going on, either locally for us near Boston or globally?
Globally and locally. So we do hackathons across the world all the time. In the US, in particular in Seattle, in Denver, we're very active in the Denver space, in the SF SoCal area as well. In Boston, in fact, we were there last summer. Earlier this summer with the Harvard Blockchain Club, as well as the MIT Blockchain Association. So we are very active, and I'm sure we'll find a way to do more with you guys over there in Boston. By the way, I went to school in Amherst, so I'm a New Englander, so always happy to go back to Boston.
Excellent. Maybe we can collaborate next time you're there. So
I would love to do that.
And so, anything in the future that you want to have? Maybe an announcement that's pending, or future plans that you have? Definitely.
So two things. One, as a platform, NEO 3 is the next big version of our platform. We have that tested out there already. So NEO 3 is coming up next year, early next year. Again, going back to asset digitization. The second thing is the tooling. we are making significant investments in terms of tooling across the globe, right? Like I said, we want to go after these 20 plus million people out there, make life easy and fun. And the third thing is at Consensus New York, we launched EcoBoost. So we have a fund, we have ring-fenced about $100 million basically that we're using to seed investment. Two things. So devs like two things: to build apps easily and to distribute them. And we know how this works. And so we say, look, make it very easy to build and make it economically viable for you to distribute, and magic will happen.
And I think your 18 years experience at Microsoft certainly give you a leg up to some of the competition, and you have a very clear vision on how to execute the strategy for mass adoption within the developer community.
Absolutely. Yeah. We know how this thing works. We know the patterns of adoption. And so we think we have a unique advantage. The team we are building in Seattle, hiring former Amazon and Microsoft developers who really know what it takes to build a platform. So we have a long view. It's a long game we are playing.
Excellent, John. And where can the community go to find more information on NEO in general?
So definitely. So neo.org/dev, and obviously on GitHub as well. Would love for you to give us feedback. Yeah. Also contribute. We are an open source community, so contribute. Give back to us, and certainly tell us what we are doing well, and tell us what we are not doing well.
Right.
Feedback is the way we can improve. So would love to hear from you guys.
Excellent. And John, was there any closing statement that you wanted to make?
I would say, look, we will be the most developer-friendly platform for blockchain development. Second, we won't call them D-apps anymore. They will just be apps, and NEO will make it happen.
All right, John, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Take care.